1. Brief intro. When I was little, I used to visit this friend of mine very often, both because I loved playing with them and because my parents weren't at home most of the time because of work. This friend of mine had a nanny that had to look after them, and also had to do some chores like cleaning, cooking for them, and helping them do their homework. The problem with her, our entitled nanny, was the fact that she wouldn't always do those things and would rather sit on the couch and watch movies and stay on her phone. So my friend wouldn't always do their homework, and because of that they didn't have very good grades, and the parents were quite concerned about it. But when they asked the entitled nanny about it, she'd say that she tried to make them study, but they simply wouldn't listen to her. My friend's parents believed in the first place, but after some time they started noticing that she wasn't doing other things she had to do, and started considering firing her. She remained with my friend another month or so, before things went the wrong way, and she found out that my friend's parents were going to fire her. My friend and I were in their room watching a movie, when suddenly we heard the entitled nanny screaming that they couldn't fire her, and that she had already done the chores and everything she was asked to do, but she didn't know that my friend told them otherwise. But when my friend's parents told the entitled nanny that they knew that she was lying, she rushed to the room where my friend and I were and locked the door, and when my friend's parents arrived, the following conversation occurred. Note, I was 6 when it happened. I don't remember everything in detail. "Entitled nanny, what are you doing?"
"I'm going to take her away. You don't deserve her. I'm the one who raised her, so she's better off with me than you. If you don't let me go with her and her friend, I will call CPS and tell them you took her from me."
Yes, she really said that. "I'm calling the police if you don't leave this house right now."
"You can call whoever you want, you motherfucking son of a bitch. I'm not leaving."
My friend's parents proceeded to call the police and tell them what's happened. At this point, both me and my friend were terrified. But when the police arrived and my friend's parents went outside to talk to them, entitled nanny unlocked the door, grabbed me and my friend by the arm, and dragged us to the garage where her car was. She then made us get in the back seat and tried to drive off, but luckily, one of the police cars was parked in front of the garage door, so she couldn't escape. And after that, she got dragged outside of the car. Entitled nanny got arrested and sentenced to 13 years in jail, and 10 more probation. But she had to pay 4,500 euros to my friend's parents, which my friend's parents saved for my friend's college funds. But after they got a new nanny who helped her with her studies, she got a full-ride scholarship and used the money to buy a scooter. To this day, we're big friends and we work for an international transport company. 2. My mom's dog, Punky, R.I.P., was a very sweet, loving dog. She was an ESA dog, but trained to be a service dog for PTSD before she lost her leg. I had never seen her get aggressive with anyone in her entire 12 years she lived. She never growled or nipped anyone, and she had no sense of smell, so she loved all animals and people. A real gentle giant among our little terriers at 60 pounds. What I'm getting at here was that her barking at something and being aggressive was so wildly uncharacteristic that I only saw it once. I was 11, female, was at home with my siblings, a 2-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. My then stepdad is at work, and my mom ran up to the gas station to grab a quick pack of cigarettes. It was only a mile or 2 away from us. For reference, we lived in a 2-bedroom trailer in the middle of the woods, on a dead-end road at the time, and you had to really make an effort to get down our road, find our house, navigate down our rickety driveway, and find the door. I'm sitting at the computer, having a grand old time watching YouTube videos, when all of a sudden all of our dogs, about 2 Boston Terriers and 1 Chihuahua, perk up, bark a few times, and start investigating down the hall. My siblings were napping in the bedroom at the end of the hall at the time, so I figured they had just stirred and scared the dogs. But then Punky sits up suddenly, stands up on the couch and puffs her chest out. Her ears are perked up, her fur is standing on end, her tail straight up, and then she barks, loudly, I mean, the bark booms through the living room and echoes around. And all of a sudden she lunges off the couch and goes tearing down the hallway. I'm already on edge because I don't think I've heard her bark ever. She's a Basenji mix, so her bark is more of a baying sound. But this was a big, loud, alert bark. I stand up and go look down the hallway, ready to fight off what I'm assuming is a shadow monster in the hallway based on how the dogs are acting. But then I hear it. Knock, knock, knock. We didn't get visitors because of how weird our house was location-wise, so my 11-year-old mind had no clue what to do here. The only people that showed up were family, and they didn't knock, so I slowly walked towards the door. The knock drew the attention of the dogs, and they came running back down the hallway, all except for Punky. And I felt better with our 3 yappy dogs in the room with me, even if they were all the size of New York City sewer rats. I opened the door just a bit, and standing on our porch is the sketchiest man I think I've ever seen. I can still picture him perfectly. He was a really thin, taller man with dark hair and a sunken face, bags under his eyes, and this half-managed hair, sort of like he just gave it a quick brush and then figured it was, good enough. Everything about him just seemed a little too thin, a little too shallow, and his clothes were all off too. They were nice, but fake nice, you know? Like a clean, newer-looking t-shirt and new jeans. He had what looked like a suit jacket on. All his clothes were dark too, despite the fact that it was summer in Texas, and the weather was definitely into the hundreds that day. He also had this plain, unlabeled bottle in his hand. It looked like the label had been covered up and taped over. I stare up at him, in confusion, because I definitely don't know this man, and I ask what he wants. He smiles at me, and in this way that's way too fake, like this exaggerated and forced grin. He spoke in the same voice retail workers do. "Hey there, kiddo. I'm trying to sell this here carpet cleaner." And he shakes the bottle at me. "Mind if I come in and show you how good it works?" Alarms are going off in my head because he just seems so off. Looking back with an adult perspective, the fact that he didn't ask if my parents were home is unnerving, because he probably knew they weren't, and that's why he was here in the first place. I should have told him to get off our property, that I'd have to go get my mom something except what I did say. But I didn't. Instead, I just shook my head and said, "No, we don't have carpet." "Well, it works on other things." And he took a big step towards the door and shook the bottle at me. I start to freak out and think to close the door, but the thing is, our front door doesn't even lock. Small town, hard to access home, we never needed a lock. So that's basically useless. I'm sure there's something very wrong about to happen, and I'm terrified as I think about what to do in the few seconds I think I have before it does happen, when all of a sudden I hear it. Punky had crept up from the hallway, lower towards the ground with her teeth barreled and snarling like she was feral. She had slobber just dripping from her mouth. Her ears were down, and she was ready to pounce. The guy hears it too, and as I look towards Punky, she tries to lunge past me, and I just barely catch her with my leg as she tries her hardest to duck past me and attack this guy. He freaks out and runs off the porch without another word, booking it down the driveway, as I let Punky out along with the rest of our dogs, and they start chasing him. Our small dogs chase him down the driveway and stop about halfway, barking and jumping about. But Punky stops just on the porch and watches him with her ears perked, just staring in the distance until he disappears. I swear I saw someone join up with him running when he got onto the road. The second he disappeared, Punky's entire body language changed. No barking or growling, just laying around, mouth and throat covered in slobber still. I realized my siblings are still down the hall and run to check on them. And when I get to the bedroom, my siblings were sleeping soundly still. But the bedroom window was wide open, the curtains pushed all to one side, and the items on the dresser in front of the window all shoved around. Someone had tried to climb through the window. No doubt in my mind about it. From what I can gather, the bedroom window was visible from the couch where Punky was sleeping. So I think someone was trying to climb through the window before Punky went after them and scared them off. And the man at the door was meant to distract me. They definitely didn't expect Punky, a bigger dog, because most of the time she was with my mom inside while our small dogs were the ones that the public saw more often. I don't know what they intended to do, but after my mom got home, she took all of us to my aunt's house, and on our way there we saw the man walking up someone else's driveway. Men, plural, because we watched a second one split off to wait by the road. So to the two men apparently going door to sell their unlabeled carpet cleaner, I'd really rather not meet again. 3. I'm a 21-year-old female, and this story took place when I was around 11. I remember this day clearly, because it was the first time I was ever allowed to walk to school and back by myself. Up until the age of 14, I lived in what we thought was a safe place in Chautauqua County, New York. Everyone knew everyone. If you thought you would get away with something, then be prepared to have your ear abused by the time you got home. There was this one day, though. It was a cold winter day, and school, unfortunately, was still open, so all the neighborhood kids had to walk through knee-high inches of snow just to get to school. It took me longer to leave the house, as I was used to walking with my older sister to school, since she knew the routes better than me. I always used to make fun of her for being paranoid and taking a different route every day from school. But after that day, I learned that was what saved my life. As I was waiting by the door to leave, my mom came up to me and told me that I should ride with her to drop me off because my sister was too sick to go today. Being a brat, I made a big deal about wanting to walk by myself because I was almost 12 years old and all my friends' parents let them walk alone. She looked at me for a long time, then told me to make sure I pay attention to cars. I got hit by a car and almost died when I was 9, so the worry that showed in her face was well warranted. Hurriedly, I nodded and headed out the door to go to school. My sister didn't like to dilly-dally, so she was always in a rush to get to school early, but seeing as it was just me, I thought it would be a good idea to take my time. I would play in the brown slush that was left on the side of the road, and even make funny-looking snowballs to see how far I can throw them. Halfway to school, I noticed a white van following behind me. Being the playful child I was, if I had not been bending down to make another snowball, I wouldn't have noticed it slowly creeping up the street. I told myself I was being stupid, but continued more hurriedly to school. Once I got to school, I took a quick glance over my shoulder and saw the van a few feet behind me. It wasn't until I was on school grounds that it drove away fast by me. I thought that would be the end of it, but throughout the day, when I would stare out the window, the van would be there. I assumed that it never really left, just parked. Many adults would try to convince me years later that maybe it wasn't the same one, but I knew it was. This van had a bright yellow smile emoji sticker on it. I couldn't see who was in the van, but through the tinted glass, I knew they could see me. It was now the end of the day, and I wasn't ready to go home. It was too late to call my mom, because she was at work and my sister was homesick. I had to suck it up and start walking home. I tried to blend in with a group of kids, but most of them were car riders and others didn't live near me. Remembering what my sister told me, I took another route home. I didn't memorize this route clearly, but I decided anything was better than being spotted by that van. I made it to Main Street, but realized my mistake too late. The route I took led back to the main street where I walked to school. Hidden behind a row of cars was the white van with the smiley emoji sticker. I tried to stay calm and walked past it, but once I heard the van doors silently click open, I ran. I could hear the rush of 2 pairs of heavy footfalls behind me. They were getting closer. So I did what any normal kid would do. I cut corners. I cut into someone's backyard until I was directly in sight of my house and forced myself into the thick snow to make it to the door. My heart was racing, and not because I was running, but because I could still hear them behind me. I made it to the door and banged with all my might until someone came to the door. My sister looked confused, but one look at my face and she pulled me inside and locked the doors. The van was still outside. Truthfully, it stayed out there until my brother got home. Me and my sister don't talk about it, but we both knew how close it was to me going missing. I hadn't thought about this incident in years, but one of my hometown friends showed me an article that came out in 2013. Apparently some man kidnapped and sexually assaulted a girl my age. It wouldn't have scared me if it hadn't mentioned the white van. Whoever you are that attempted to kidnap me, and do God knows what else, let's not meet. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 553. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd appreciate it if you give it a share on whatever social medias you might happen to use. Help get the word out there. Be the Hellfreezer army, or, well, are we an army? No, we're more of a hippie commune here, really, aren't we? We're not a cult, though. Let's be the Hellfreezer reading group, and spread word of literacy and narration. Sorry, I was thirsty and I just reached for the water without thinking. I forgot I was recording. It's fine, we won't worry about it. I could edit it out, but it's the outro, but relax in the outro, it's fine. Okay, now I am a very bad Hellfreezer because I usually check my birthday shoutouts every video. The last couple I hadn't, sure that I didn't have any on those days because I thought they were later in the month. I did have one on the 9th, so I would like to apologize to... which name did they ask for? I'd like to apologize to Pretty Kitty. Big apologies, because I did mean to do it. But we're going to do it now. We're 2 days late, I think. Yep, should have been the 9th. We're 2 days late. But I hope you had a very happy birthday, and that you will continue to have a very happy birthday for the rest of the week. Now, and before we get to the question of the day, I'd like to sing to Pretty Kitty. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Pretty Kitty. Meow, meow, meow. Happy birthday to you. All right, there we go. Better late than never, although it would have been better if it was on time. Right, let's see. Well, we know what day this is. Just check that. So let's before we wrap up, let's have Hellfreezer's question of the day. All right, this one could be a bit dangerous. What is something that people say frequently that kind of annoys you? Doesn't necessarily make you furious, although it could if you want to share that. But you just kind of roll your eyes and you think, really? Like people that say, I like to have fun. I hear that and I think, what, really? One of those rare fun-having people, eh? Well, I thought we got rid of you in the Great Fun War of 1816. Gonna have to go set a trap for you with party balloons and cocktail sausages. I always get my man or woman. Doesn't matter, as long as they're having fun, I'll get them. All right, now, what are yours? Leave it in a comment below. I may have went off on a tangent there. Okay, anyway, with that, I'm gonna head off for. With that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.